Hi, welcome to Marquis Presents Your Key to Healthy Living. My name is Karen Halloran. I'm the Community Liaison for Marquis Health Services and your host for the show today. And I'd like to welcome Scherrie Keating. She is the owner of Diabetes Kare Consulting, Care with a K. And Scherrie is here as my guest today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be your guest.
Thank you. So we're here to talk about diabetes. Why don't you tell us first about your company, how you started it and what it's all about?
Okay, so I started my company after being laid off 4 times as a nurse. So I'm a registered nurse, and I've always specialized in diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And so after being laid off 4 times after a 31-year career, I realized that I needed to change course, and I wanted to do something on my own, but I wasn't quite sure what to do. So I actually became a certified diabetes educator, and then I actually saw a little commercial on diabetes prevention. And I didn't realize that in the 31 years I worked in diabetes that it was preventable. So I actually looked into the information about diabetes prevention and realized there was a lifestyle course that I could take. So I became certified as a diabetes prevention lifestyle coach. And then I decided to start my company because I figured if I didn't know after all those years of working in diabetes that diabetes was preventable, there would be other people that didn't either. So I started Diabetes Kare with a K Consulting.
Love it.
Kare, that was my husband's 50% contribution to my company.
That was a good one. I like the K. I like the K.
So I started the company almost 3 years ago. In September, it'll be 3 years. And what really my company is all about is I'm helping people prevent and manage diabetes through education. So my company offers community programs, healthcare CEU programs, and I'm starting to get into corporate wellness and doing some telephonic diabetic coaching.
That's excellent. That's
And also probably I'm going to be hoping to finish the book that I started to write.
Oh, wow.
And
you're busy, Scherrie.
I am so busy. I love it. I actually spoke for the first time on the national platform in Orlando. So I'm a national speaker as well. And so I speak at conferences, and I just, you know what? It's been quite an amazing journey.
And
I absolutely love it.
It's definitely your gift. I mean, I've seen you many times. You're going to be hosting another CEU for us, and you do a fabulous job.
Well, I appreciate that so much.
Bring the information that, is cutting edge, things that are going on now, and that's what people need to know. Because obviously we know there's type 1 and type 2 diabetes.
Yes.
I don't know if we're going to get into talking about diabetes now, but I know that you've been educating a lot of people on type 3 diabetes.
I have.
That's the new,
Yes, that's actually type 3 diabetes. So type 1 diabetes, I'll kind of give you a little overview. So type 1 diabetes, it used to be called juvenile diabetes, and it's actually not called that anymore because older people can get type 1 diabetes as well. So type 1 diabetes is when your pancreas, which is the organ that makes insulin, there's specialized cells that actually produces insulin, those no longer work. So it's usually an autoimmune condition or trauma or something that prevents your pancreas from making insulin, and you rely on insulin.
So type 1 is not preventable? No.
No, type 1 is not preventable. Type 2 is 90 to 95% of people with diabetes, and it is a lifestyle. Hereditary obesity is really the main risk factor, sedentary lifestyle. And there are other risk factors as well, but that's the most common form of diabetes. And you can control it with diet, you can control it with medications. Some people need insulin, but it's a chronic progressive disease. And then type 3 diabetes, I don't know if any of the viewers have heard of it, but it is a cutting edge research, and it is linking insulin resistance in the brain to Alzheimer's pathology. So insulin resistance really is the key to, or the root of a lot of chronic disease, and diabetes happens to be one of them. Cardiovascular disease, we have hypertension, we have elevated cholesterol, we have polycystic ovarian disease, we have a lot of different diseases, dementia, that stem from insulin resistance. What that actually means is that you are making insulin, but your body isn't using it appropriately. So when that happens, your blood sugars go up, your insulin levels go up, and you are at risk for a lot of serious health problems. Obesity is the driver of insulin resistance. So, and we have an obesity epidemic in our country.
Absolutely. So it sounds like type 3 is definitely preventable.
Type 3 is based on insulin resistance, and it's just insulin resistance targeting a different organ, which happens to be the brain, and it leads to the Alzheimer's pathology. So yes, what we need to do is get to the root of the problem, and that's insulin resistance. And that is lifestyle, lifestyle.
Diet, exercise.
Absolutely. I don't like to call it diet. I like to call it healthy eating.
Healthy eating.
A healthy way of eating, because when you think of diet, it has a negative connotation. People think that if they just stop eating altogether, or else they go on one of these, fad diets, that is going to prevent all of these chronic health problems. But it really is a lifestyle change, and it's small steps that you can make every day that have a significant impact in the long run in your health. So I like to think of it as a healthy lifestyle that includes eating healthy and exercising and keeping your weight where it's healthy for your body type. So that's really the root of the problem, and we really need to educate, and we need to start from kids.
Exactly.
Because where do we start developing habits? From childhood, right?
And portion sizes are huge.
Well, think about we like to supersize everything.
Right.
You go to an Italian restaurant, you don't get a cup of pasta, you get
4 cups.
Right, exactly. And so a lot of us, myself included, we were told we couldn't leave the table until we ate everything on our plate.
Clean the plate.
Right. So I don't know about you, but that's how I was raised.
Right.
And so I think a lot of us have that thought process that we have to finish everything on our plate, and I think that's led to a lot of problems.
Absolutely.
Later on in our life.
But then they also do say different types of food, like the Mediterranean diet. Some of the different foods that you can eat can definitely help with that too.
Oh, absolutely. Mediterranean diet is a very healthy diet. It's got a lot of fruits and vegetables and whole grains. It's got a lot of the healthy fats and the oils and the avocados and the nuts, and absolutely. So it's the American diet. It's the processed food, it's the sugar, it's the fried food, it's the fast food, it's the white bread and the white pasta and the white rice versus the whole grain. So when I'm educating people, I like to use My Plate. And My Plate is a tool that is a 9-inch plate, and you divide it in half. So half of the plate are fruits and vegetables, and then a quarter is a lean protein, and then you have a low-fat dairy, and then you have whole grains. And if we can just think about, eating, a lot of people like to cut out the food groups. Well, I'm just not going to eat carbs anymore, and I'm only going to, I'm only going to eat a certain food group. Our body needs all of the food groups, but we have to get it in the right portion, as you said, and we have to be eating the healthy, like the whole grains versus the, processed white, type of options. So if we can just change our thinking little bits at a time, we can really make an impact in this epidemic that we have of insulin resistance and all the associated health problems related to it.
Well, I think it's great that you're educating people about it and bringing it to people's minds, because I don't think, well, obviously, until this research was done, people weren't realizing that this was happening. So.
And all of these diseases are on the rise. We have 84 million people that have prediabetes, and 90% have no idea they even have it. The time to make these changes is today. So screening, you can go to my website, you can go to doihaveprediabetes.org, or my website, which is Diabetes Kare Consulting.com, and there's a link. You go in, it takes less than a minute, Karen. You go in, you answer 7 questions.
That's
if
great.
you score 5 or higher, you likely have prediabetes now. And you can go to the doctor from there, get tested, get verified. You would either have a fasting blood sugar or a hemoglobin A1C. So the difference between those two tests is fasting blood sugar, you want to fast for 8 or 12 hours. It's, you go and have your blood test. If you have a fasting blood sugar of 100 to 125, you have prediabetes. Over 126 is diabetes. So that's one test. And the tests for prediabetes and diabetes are the same, only the numbers are different. So fasting blood sugar, 100 to 125 is prediabetes, and over 126 is diabetes, type 2. Now, A1C is kind of like if you took a camera snapshot looking backwards over 3 months. Your red blood cells live 3 months. So if you have all this excess sugar floating around your body, it attaches to that red blood cell. And from there, what happens is it elevates your hemoglobin A1C, and so you can measure that. It comes out as a percentage, and it's kind of an average blood sugar over the previous 3 months. You don't need to fast because it's an average over the previous 3 months. If you are 5.7 to 6.4%, you have prediabetes. Over 6.5% is type 2 diabetes. So what they recommend is get screened. Take a screening test. It's a 7-question. It takes less than a minute. Second thing you can do is next thing, if you score 5 or higher, go get tested. Have that blood test. The third and most important thing is start today to make 2 simple lifestyle changes that can reduce your risk by 58 to 71%.
And what would that be?
The problem is diet and exercise, right? So it's diet and exercise. So if you reduce the amount of saturated fat, the bad fat, that comes from 4-legged animals like a lot of beef and fried food and processed food, those kind of things, and you lower your saturated fat, and you exercise 5 days a week for 30 minutes, you can reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes by 58 to 71%.
That's pretty good.
And this is proven.
That's not with a lot of effort either. You could go for a 30-minute walk then.
Right. And so the whole idea, this was a study that was done. It was called the Diabetes Prevention Program. It was done in 1999 to 2001. And what it showed is that people that lost 5 to 7% of their body weight by lowering their saturated fat, which is your bad fat, exercising 150 minutes a week, could reduce their risk by 58 to 71%. And the long-term effects, 10 and 15 years later when they followed up with these people, they still had a reduction.
Wow.
So it's a small thing that you need to do. You know, when you think of, oh my gosh, I have to lose weight, you think of 50, 100 pounds, but 5 to 7% of your body weight. So say you're 200 pounds. That's 14 pounds by lowering the amount of saturated fat and exercising. And exercise, you don't have to do a 30-minute workout all at once. You can do 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and 10 minutes and get the same benefit. Nothing under 10 minutes is shown to be beneficial. The thing is, you can't go like on a slow, like kind of enjoying the scenery sort of walk. You do need to make your heart pump a little bit, and it's okay to increase like a moderate pace. You don't have to run the Boston Marathon, and you don't have to, you don't want to go on like a Sunday drive, so to speak. You want to be somewhere in the middle and, make your heart pump a little bit, your lungs work a little bit. That's an aerobic workout, and that's what you need to do. So you can do 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and 10 minutes. So think about that in your day. Today, I got up at 4:30. I had a meeting in Framingham, and then I had an hour in between the next meeting. So what I did was I got to my next meeting, parked the car in the parking lot, and I did a 30-minute walk.
That's pretty good.
So instead of just sitting in my car doing work,
right,
I decided I'm going to get my work on and do 30 minutes.
That was a good idea.
And in between appointments, people can do, if they have 10-minute increments 3 times a day,
right,
they can get this in. And they can take the weekends off for fun. So, however you want to do it, 15 and 15, 20 and 10, 30 minutes, but you got to do it. And
the weather's going to be getting a lot nicer, so we would encourage you to be outside walking around and enjoying the weather.
Absolutely. And I always tell people, God gave you 2 legs. Just use them. You don't have to spend any money. You don't have to buy equipment. You don't have to join a gym. You can do it walking.
Right.
So you don't have to spend money, and I think that's a barrier for some people. So if they know they can just get the same amount of benefit just going for a walk,
right,
it's easy to do. And if you have trouble with your legs, swimming is a great option. You can bike, you can row, you can get a tape and put it in your computer.
Right.
However you need to do it, but it's a priority. It needs to become a priority, and you need to do it on a consistent basis to get the benefit.
And even when the weather's bad, people can go inside, walk around the mall. There are a lot of indoor places people can do things too, besides a gym.
Right, and you know what? What I do if I have no time, I walk around my house. So people that can't drive, they can still do it because they can walk around their house.
Right.
Set an alarm for 10 minutes and walk around your house. Sit down, watch your favorite show, get up, set an alarm, do 10 minutes. So if there's a will, there's a way, and you can do it.
And I think a lot of times those Fitbits, I know I have one.
I love my Fitbit.
can kind of challenge yourself and get into different things.
Yes.
So that might be something people might want to invest in. There are a lot of different ones out there for that.
Yep, and walking groups. Get your friends. Make it a family affair, because you know what? It benefits everyone in the family.
It does.
Cook together as a family. Go, decide on creative meals that you can do. Enjoy the experience.
Right.
And you're still getting the health benefit.
This is true.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's very manageable. And we know diabetes is preventable, because once you get diabetes, then what happens is you're at risk for a lot of chronic diseases.
A lot of different comorbidities come
Yes,
up with that.
absolutely. And so, and it's a chronic progressive disease. And you end up spending more money because you have specialists that you have to go to. You have your eyes dilated, your feet checked, all of these different things, additional lab work. So it's a job having diabetes.
Right.
And so if you can prevent it, why would you not want to?
And I see people, the aging population that might come to one of our centers, people like towards the end, I mean, you can get into amputations and things like that because of diabetes. So it's not something to fool around with.
I don't sugarcoat diabetes, because I think that's where we have fallen into a trap, is that people will come in. I worked as a diabetes educator, and I would sit down and I would say, to my patient that I was seeing, I'd say, so how did you find out you had diabetes? A lot of times they found out they had a complication before they had diabetes, because this process of developing diabetes can take 10 to 20 years. Your body compensates, and so when you have insulin resistance, you're making insulin, but you're not using it properly. So insulin is the key that opens the cell for the sugar to float in. When you're insulin resistance, it's like going to unlock your door and putting the key in, and you turn the key and the door doesn't open.
Right.
So what happens is the door to the cell doesn't open, and sugar floats around and attacks your blood vessels. So it attacks your eyes, your kidneys, your nerves. And when you carry extra weight around your middle, that becomes, it leads to inflammation in your arteries. So you're risk for heart disease and stroke. And so, people don't understand that diabetes is a very serious, very debilitating, it can be disease. And, the longer you have diabetes, it increases your risk of dementia, Alzheimer's disease as well. So we can prevent it by simple lifestyle changes.
That's great. I'm so glad you're out educating people. I know you are all over the place. Scherrie is doing a circuit everywhere. Everywhere I look, you're having a presentation, but it's great because nobody else is really talking about this, and people need to know. So it's great you're getting the word out.
That was when I had my aha moment, when I saw a picture, and it was an iceberg. And at the tip of the iceberg were 30.3 million people that had diabetes diagnosed, because remember, it takes 10 to 20 years. So you can have diabetes and not know it because your body's compensating, and then one day your body just can't compensate anymore, and you develop elevated blood sugars or you get symptomatic. So just think about that. 3.3 million people with diagnosed diabetes, a quarter of them don't know. Then you've got under the tip of the iceberg 84.1 million more with prediabetes. And what they're saying now is that 1 in 3 will have type 2 diabetes in their lifetime, the way things are going.
Wow.
That's really,
scary.
That's very scary. So when I'm in a room and I'm presenting, I just presented in Orlando for the Critical Care Expo in Orlando, and I had about 800 to 1,000 people, and I said, what if we went around the room and we counted 1 in 3? That's how many of you are going to have type 2 diabetes in your lifetime if we don't make some simple lifestyle changes. So we really need to wake up to the fact that diabetes can be prevented, and we really need to do something today. Right. And start with that screening tool. Go on my website, go click on doihaveprediabetes.org, or just Google diabetes risk test. And you know what? Take the test, get blood tested, and then do something about it.
So that if someone shows up and they're borderline, and you take that test, definitely call your doctor. Make an appointment, get checked out, look into what you can do, take the steps.
Yes, and there's a diabetes prevention program, and you can find one across the state, and they're across the country, and it's based upon that diabetes prevention program study that I was telling you about. And it's a year-long program. So if you do end up having prediabetes, you can call and get involved in a program.
Oh, that's great.
And so I would definitely do that, because it's a lifestyle change. It's not something that happens overnight. Everybody wants a quick fix.
Right.
It's not a quick fix. You didn't get to where you are today overnight.
Right.
It was years of eating a certain way or not exercising. And so we can't expect, in a
results
month.
overnight.
Right. But we need to start somewhere. So
Right.
today's a good day to start.
Sounds good to me.
Every day is a good day to start. So just start today and do what you need to do, because diabetes is preventable. Absolutely.
That's great information. And I hope people do go on your website. Say it
really do.
again. It's
Diabetes Kare with a K Consulting.com.
Okay. And go on and take that test.
Absolutely. And you know what? If there's anyone who's interested in, having me come in and provide, I have classes on diabetes prevention, managing day-to-day diabetes. It's hard to manage diabetes day-to-day. So I offer programs, both community and CEU, on day-to-day management of diabetes. What are those complications, and what are the required screening testing that you should have yearly? I teach people how to eat healthy, how to read labels. Toxic chemicals that they put in our products that we use on our body every day and around our house lead to chronic disease.
Right.
And so I talk about that. I talk about as you age and diabetes, and then type 3 diabetes. So I would love, I'm on a mission, and I'm looking for people to partner with me to get this education. This is critical, life-changing education. And, I had a very rare cancer. I know what it's like to not know what's going to happen tomorrow. Am I going to live? Am I going to die? And so I realized that if you don't have your health, you really have nothing.
Right.
So it's so important to take care of your health today. And I really hope this message resonates with somebody who needs to hear it. I know there's somebody out
I'm sure
there
there's somebody
who
out
needs
there
to
who
hear
needs to hear
it.
it.
So I really hope that, whoever needs to hear it hears it and decides that today's the day to make that small change, because it pays off in huge dividends. Absolutely.
Well, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there something you'd like to wrap up our talk by saying with people?
See. Well, you know what? I do have something. I'm all about the why.
Okay.
And so I believe everybody has a story and everybody has a why. And your why can change your story and impact the lives of many. So when you're trying to make the decision to make a lifestyle change, think about why you want to do that. And keep that why in focus, because that why becomes a very powerful motivating tool. I know personally how it helped my life in the circumstances I was in when I was diagnosed with cancer. And I know that we all have challenges and barriers. And if we have that one thing that will keep us on track and will keep motivating us, then we can do anything.
This is
So
true.
I want to leave people with find your why and use it to make those simple lifestyle changes.
That's fantastic. So you heard it from Scherrie. Find your why.
Find your why.
And, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. You, I think, educated a lot of people today on a very important topic.
Well, I'm thrilled to be asked, and I love working with you. And also, definitely you have so much to offer, and Marquis has so much to offer too. So definitely check out what you guys are doing, because you're doing some really wonderful things too,
Well,
and
thank
impacting
you.
lives of other people as well. So I
Thanks.
appreciate this opportunity and your friendship, and it's awesome. Thank you so much.
Scherrie. And that's why I started this show, was because
Yeah.
there are so many people like yourself that have information to get out to the seniors. And a lot of times, they don't even know they have choices.
Right.
So that's what I've been hearing. That was the whole reason to start the show. So thank you so much for coming on and telling
You're
people
welcome.
about
And
it.
I think it impacts not just seniors, but everybody.
It does.
I think it impacts everyone. I mean, the work you do are mostly for seniors, but I think everybody needs education. And there's
Absolutely.
always new things that are coming out. So it's important that we educate people and stay on top of the cutting edge research that's coming out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us today. And make it a great day. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.